Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the News Today edition of 8th of November, wherein we try and make all important news for the day in the most simplest format for you guys to understand. Let's look at the important news which we will cover today. First is, again, a Supreme Court have issued a directive with respect to removal of stray dogs from key public spaces. Supreme Court has also raised concern over India's land registration system in the Samyulla versus State of Bihar case. World Economic Forum has released a report talking about shaping the deep tech revolution in agriculture, basically talking about the usage of artificial intelligence in agricultural initiatives. World Bank has released a report naming Financial Sector Assessment Program report. And India is all set to join the Tropical Forest Forever facility as an observer status. We are going to see place in news, that is Denmark, along with quick updates for the day. So a recent directive has came from Supreme Court with respect to removal of stray dogs from key public spaces. So this is not something new. Couple of months back, Supreme Court took up a suo moto case and it ordered removal of stray dogs from the Delhi NCR region, which was countered by a lot of protest from public, specifically the animal lovers, the dog lovers, and the Supreme Court took up that particular decision. So now a recent directive has came up. Okay, there are key public spaces, and what are these key public spaces? They talk about schools, hospitals, railway stations, and bus stands where there has been rising incidences of dog bites. And this is again a problem which Supreme Court has taken up into consideration. And of course, they have taken up a fundamental right of Article 21, that is right to life and personal liberty, that it is maybe people have a right to feel safe in public spaces. And this is where this directive has come up, that there are certain key public spaces wherein rising incidences of dog bites are happening, and we need to remove dogs specifically from these key public spaces. I'll also discuss, in fact, if you understand, Article 21 in Supreme Court in Jallikattu case has also given or talked about that right to life also extend to animals. So this is where Supreme Court under this particular decision has balanced the whole idea of right to life between humans as well as animals, and the very same talking about the ideas of making public spaces safe. So what directive has been issued by court? Let's look one by one. So they have told that all such premises that are the key public spaces, what we have discussed, you need to appoint one nodal officer. What would be the task of that nodal officer? So that nodal officer would look upon that in those key public spaces, how are these stray dog situation getting monitored? That is the whole idea. Then in every district, the district magistrate role would be to ensure that all such public spaces premises are properly fenced and properly gated so that stray dogs cannot enter such key public spaces. Then there is an idea of regular inspections. And this is where we have involved local governance, that local bodies, municipalities and panchayats, of course in rural and urban areas, are responsible to monitor these places in every 3 months, so that whether these are being followed or not, they are going to take them into consideration by doing such inspections. Then we have, it's the hospital's duty. We have seen the rising incidences of dog bites. So it has been discussed that all government and private hospitals must always have anti-rabies vaccine and immunoglobulin available. What is immunoglobulin? It is basically a kind of antibodies which are used to treat basic kind of viral bacterial diseases. Then we have waste management. So again, we talk about the whole idea of solid waste management system. So there are a lot of places where again wastes are being dumped, and technically there are a lot of food waste which are also being dumped. So these food waste attract stray dogs. So this is also being told that again, you need to properly manage that how you are dumping your waste and how you're handling them, so that the food waste would not attract the stray dogs. And again, this is how they would be helping it out with respect to managing these waste with respect to gathering of stray dogs in these key public spaces. Then why is it so important? Let's look at some data. The data tells that there are 1.5 crore stray dogs in India as per 2019 census, and of course it is an old census. If we talk it out as of now, of course the numbers would have been increased. There has been 37 lakh incidences of dog bites in 2024 alone. Look at the number. And then 36% of global rabies deaths happen in India. So again, it is talking about how much sensitive or how much mortal that rabies disease is. And dog bites causes 96% of rabies cases in the country. So again, 96% of dog bites lead to rabies disease, which is again a fatal disease. This is the data which talks about that how important the situation is to be monitored as far as dog bites in India is concerned. Then what are some legal and constitutional mechanisms with respect to handle this particular situation? Article 243W, which is empowering local bodies, municipalities, that they must manage the idea of managing these stray dogs. Article 51A, that is Fundamental Duty G, talks about every citizen must show compassion towards animals. We have also seen there is a rule which talks about animal birth control rules. And we have been following a method. That is, we need to capture the dog, we need to capture the stray animal, we need to sterilize them, we need to vaccinate them, and then we are going to release them. That's how we are going to control the population of these stray animals. And lastly, we have a program to eliminate dog medicated rabies by the year 2030. So under this whole directive which has been given up by Supreme Court, what they're trying to balance? They're trying to balance the idea of human safety, which is of course implicit under Article 21 of Indian Constitution. I also discussed Article 21 is also being given to animals with respect to the whole Jallikattu case of Supreme Court. It is also talking about the ideas of animal welfare, because complete removal of these animals from a particular area is not a right decision. And this is where Supreme Court has tried to balance it out by giving some kind of suggestions. They're not telling that you need to remove them. They're also giving solutions. Solutions like what? To control their populations, to manage waste properly, to make public spaces safe for everyone. This is how Supreme Court has given a directive which is trying to balance the whole idea of animal safety, animal welfare, as well as talking about the ideas of human safety. Very important topic, could be used in the ideas of Supreme Court judgments. Maybe you can talk about this in any ideas of questions of governance. So again, a very important topic for an examination. The next topic is, again, Supreme Court has raised concern with respect to India's land registration system in the Samyula versus State of Bihar case. So whenever you come across these kind of Supreme Court cases, you need to remember, again, a topic of land reforms, digitization of land records, how we are maintaining land records, same topic of paper number 3. So whenever questions come across from these topics, you can quote these Supreme Court judgments over there. That's how we are going to read them from examination perspective. So let's look at what Supreme Court has raised concern with respect to India's land registration system. So again, we have discussed many times that again we have squashed these old IPC laws. We have come up with respect to the new Bharat laws. So this is where, as far as land registration system in India is concerned, we are still using old colonial laws. That is the one major challenge with respect to land registration in which Supreme Court has raised an issue. They have talked about that again we are still using Transfers of Property Act, which was made in which year? 1882. Registrations Act, 1908. So again, more than 100 years old law are being used to govern something which is how society has developed, how we have maybe changed the course of in our society, and we are still following these old laws. That is something which has been talked about. A lot of change has changed in the India's modern economy or technology, but again we are still using these outdated laws. Number two, no clear ownership proof. I'll give you an example. Let's say if you are buying a property, let's say in anywhere, maybe in Delhi, you got a property. So there is a sale deed. Now you need to register that particular property. Now you have registered a property. Clear? Does it give you 100% ownership of that particular property? So as far as the land registration systems in India is concerned, it is something we call this as a presumptive ownership. So that does not give you 100% claim over that particular property. Let's say tomorrow someone else came up and told you ki I have also bought this property and this is my registration certificate. Then this is where the problem starts. And this is happening in India, and that is the major cause of huge number of litigations with respect to land disputes or property dispute cases. So again, let's say if I have property, I have registered that particular property. Someone else comes 10 days after or 2 years after and again claim I also have an ownership of that particular property. This is my piece of document. Then what is happening? Now both parties need to go to court, and then court, again depending upon the litigation process, how they are maybe claiming and what kind of proof they are giving, then court decides then actually property belongs to which person. And this is the situation with respect to land registration system in India. So there is no mechanism which is giving you 100% claim over your property. That is a major thing over here. Then too many court cases, as I discussed, फेक सेल डीड्स, वो देखिए मूवी बंटी बबली, ताजमहल भेज दिया था उन्होंने. So again similarly there are a lot of fake sale deeds happening, there are a lot of encroachments, there are a lot of poor verification, and in fact the data itself tells कि 66% of civil cases in India are regarding land disputes. Clear? And then half of the digitization projects we have seen recently in Bihar, we went for digitization of land records, because government is trying to make sure that again all land records are again kept in a digital format, which is going to make the whole process of land governance in a more better manner. But what is the problem over here? So these land registrations are only maybe converting something which is there in a piece of paper to a digital format. They are not maybe revamping, or they're not changing something with respect to dispute with respect to land, dispute with respect to encroachment of property. So that is a problem with respect to digitization of land records, that again it is not updating the situations or the problems with respect to land disputes. It is only maybe converting something which is there in paper to a digital record. That is a problem with respect to digitization of land records in India. Then what did Supreme Court has suggested? All of we are aware about the whole idea of blockchain technology, that this technology is something which is making this whole tampering of land records impossible. We know about blockchain technology. Blockchain technology is a technology which talks about the whole ideas of, it is just like a digital notebook, that if something is written over here, it cannot be changed or erased. As simple as that. This is the idea of blockchain technology. And this is going to make the whole process of land registration transparent, secure, and trustworthy. This is where blockchain technology is going to come up. And this is where Supreme Court has talked about that why not in India, we are going to maintain land records by using blockchain technology, which is going to make the whole process of making fake sales, encroachments, maybe double selling of same property, all issues are going to get resolved. Then they are talking about move to a conclusive titles. As I discussed, कि Law Commission को Supreme Court has asked कि please see what is the feasibility of implementing these conclusive titles. We have discussed presumptive ownership, that again, if you have piece of land, it is just a presumptive ownership. If someone comes and claims over that piece of land, that again, that does not give you 100% ownership, and then in that particular matter, you're going to go to the court, and then court is going to settle that dispute. Supreme Court is telling that why you are making such kind of land registration process complicated. If someone is registering a piece of land, give him a conclusive title. That is, he is the 100% owner of that particular property, and there is no one who can come and claim over that particular property. Even if someone comes and claim that particular property, then government is going to compensate to the other person who is coming and claiming over that particular property. This is the idea of conclusive titles, which Supreme Court has suggested for Law Commission to see the feasibility of implementation of conclusive titles. And they're also talking about all of these outdated laws have to be revamped, have to be changed, have to be modernized to pace up with the change in economy and technology. This is where again a very important piece of Supreme Court directive with respect to how we are going to manage the land registration systems in India. Given the fact 66% of the civil cases in India are regarding these land disputes. Don't you think it is going to solve the problem of pendency of cases in the courts, which is the biggest issue with respect to Indian judiciary? So a lot of things is going to solve. Let's see how we are going to implement them. And there are successful countries like Sweden, Georgia, Ghana. They have tested the blockchain for land registration system, and that had made this whole process of land registration transfers faster, corruption is less, and there are fewer disputes with respect to land registration system. Then the third news is World Economic Forum. Again, this is a topic, again, very important for your prelims examination. Why? Because World Economic Forum, World Bank, whenever they release a certain kind of report, we have seen in previous year question papers of UPSC that they give the name of organization and they can give you 4 options by giving the name of 4 reports. This is where you're going to see that World Economic Forum releases a report called as Shaping the Deep Tech Revolution in Agriculture, basically talking about the use of artificial intelligence in agricultural initiative. That is AI for agricultural initiative. Again, a part of GS paper number 3. We have a specific topic of artificial intelligence. We have a topic of e-technology in the aid of farmers. All of those are going to be used. So let's see what World Economic Forum has discussed first. They have talked about that as far as agriculture across the globe is concerned, there are certain challenges which agriculture is facing. Number one is fewer people are farming. So again, with the kind of development in society, with the kind of, again, it's a very societal thing. How do we see someone who is a farmer and someone who is working in a big tech company or in a corporate office? Which position is more respected? And again, this is something which is actually present in society. So that is where we talk about there is a kind of respect which is associated with a job which is being done in office, where in comparison to someone which is very noble a job, just like a farmer. And this is where people have been moving, people have been migrating from rural areas, and they are migrating to urban areas for better job opportunities for these white collar jobs, and there are less number of farmers. This is something which World Economic Forum in this particular report has talked about. They have also talked about that farmers are, again, the new generation are not doing farming and they are moving to white collar jobs. So there are technically less number of farmers who is going to do the task of agricultural activities. The first challenge. Then we will also discuss the whole idea of how climate change is affecting agriculture. So weather getting unpredictable, monsoons becoming very erratic, right? So if this global emissions, which is causing climate change, is not stopped, then world's food output could drop by 24% by 2100. Don't you think that population is going to increase? Now, food resources, if it is decreased by 24%, How do you say, how do you think it is going to impact a lot of things in society or economy? Then the major fight would not be on disputes regarding borders. The major fight would be regarding food. And this is where this report has highlighted this particular issue. Then they're talking about natural resources are running out. We are degrading soil. We are degrading land resources. Example, farming has already used 70% of global fresh water. In India, we talk about how groundwater is getting depleted. There is report by Niti Aayog that again how depletion of groundwater is happening, and this is happening at global level as well. That farming is taking up 70% of global fresh water, and many underground water sources are drying up. One third of the soils are already damaged, and by 2050, 90% of the topsoil could be degraded. Again, a very important concern with respect to agriculture. So these are the few challenges with respect to farming which the globe is facing, the global world is facing as per this report. Then they have talked about that how there are few of the examples of artificial intelligence or tech in the domain of agricultural initiatives. Number one is there is a startup with the name of Intello Labs, or is a company with the name of Intello Labs, which has developed something called as fruit sort. Example, let's discuss. Maybe post harvest in a particular area, let's say huge amount of apples or oranges or any kind of vegetable or any kind of produce is harvested. Now, of course, we are going to understand this quality of every apple, every orange, or every, let's say, vegetable or any product is not going to be similar because there's a lot of variance with respect to areas. Someone would be damaged, someone would be overripe. So this is the problem lies that again we need to sort out that which are the best quality of apples and which are the which quality of apples are less, and they some quality is not right for selling. So this was a manual job which was being done. So with this fruit sort, by the use of artificial intelligence and computer version like smart cameras, fruits and vegetables are basically inspected for defects quickly and accurately, and it is helping ensure to maintain that good quality of produce reaches the market, and again the farmers is going to get the best price for best of their produce. Clear? Then PM Fasal Bima Yojana, basically the whole idea of crop insurance scheme. So again, a very noble scheme of the government where again it is giving insurance to farmers against crop loss. But again, sometimes these claims are very challenging to take. So this is where again integration of artificial intelligence has been done, wherein what they are using satellite images, drone images, mobile apps to make sure crop insurance, if it is getting claimed, they are getting claimed in a more faster and fairer manner. There is no time or maybe there is delay with respect to farmer getting the insurance amount in case of crop failure. And this is where farmers can get very quickly whenever crop fails by using of this particular technology. Then we have Infosys has launched a program with the name of Infosys 5G Point Natural. So what kind of system is this? All of you must have been seeing that again in a piece of agricultural land, there are a lot of manual people who is doing manually certain kind of jobs. Maybe sowing of crop, tilling of crop, maybe tilling of, let's say, the land over a particular area. So this is where this AI is being using, creating smart, connected, a robot system with the name of swarms, which are going to do what we call as automated harvesting. So the manual people or the people or the farmers who were manually doing the jobs of harvesting is going to be replaced by robots. So again, faster process of cultivation, more accurate basis of cultivating things. So imagine multiple small robots picking crops together, guided by artificial intelligence, and at the very same time use of fast internet speed of 5G. And lastly, we have Bhumi Mitra's Urvara project. So what this is trying to do is it is using AI plus satellites to monitor how much carbon soil is capturing. We understood and we understand that again soils have a lot of carbon sequestration capacity. They can absorb carbon. But if soil is getting degraded, its carbon absorption capacity is getting decreased. Many a times farmers who are having good quality of soils, who are maintaining good quality of soils by using organic manures or organic fertilizers, if they are getting, if they're maintaining good quality of soil which is capable of absorbing huge amount of carbon, so they have to be compensated for that particular thing. So this is where this program is going to capture such good quality of soils, and farmers can claim or can take up carbon credits by maintaining good quality of soil, by adapting eco-friendly practices, and by earning carbon credits. This is somewhere how it is talking about the uses of artificial intelligence in the agriculture initiatives, what we have discussed. One question has come up in previous year. Explain various types of revolutions took place in agriculture after independence in India. In this question, again, the question specifically pertains to how these revolutions have helped in poverty alleviation and food security in India. 17 questions, but now you can use that different types of revolution. There is something called as tech revolution in agriculture, right? You can use that content in these kind of answers. The next topic is World Bank has released a report talking about financial sector assessment program report. So it is released by World Bank. Again, a report released by World Bank, very important for your prelims examination. What exactly is happening in this particular report? Every country's financial health needs a checkup time to time. Just like everybody, again, it's a very advisable thing after 30s, everyone should go for a complete full body checkup at least once in a year, right? And someone above 40, 50, maybe at least twice a year. Similarly, a country's financial health needs a checkup time to time. So again, World Bank along with IMF is doing that for India through this particular release of report, that is financial sector assessment program. So they are examining that again, how strong, safe and inclusive the country's financial sectors, examples banks, stock markets, insurance and regulators are there, and suggest some ways to improve them. Let's look at how and what kind of assessment they have done with respect to Indian financial systems. So as per this particular report, they have talked that India's financial sector is very strong and is growing in a very good manner. And how they have come to this particular conclusion, that again, Indian financial systems, for example, banks, markets have become more powerful and diverse. And with respect to how much financial assets which is being held by Indian or maybe India as a country is equivalent to 175% of its GDP, which was earlier 144%. So, but again, one thing it also tells that majority of the financial assets are being held or owned by the government, right? So again, more something which is there with public banks and less with respect to private institutions or private banks. Then it has also talked about that how much digital inclusion or financial inclusion of India has helped with respect to maintaining good financial health, with respect to the whole idea of Jan Dhan, Aadhaar, mobile linkage, maintaining of digital public infrastructure, making payments more faster, cheaper, more inclusive. So again, it has a lot to do with respect to how banking or financial system has reached to millions of people. Then it also talks about that again, the regulators of financial system, for example, RBI for banks, SEBI for financial markets. So all of them are doing a very great job with respect to supervision, expanding control over cooperative banks, tightening of financial safety rules. And in fact, but they have also discussed with respect to non-banking financial companies, for example, non-banking financial companies who do not take up deposits, but they are giving you certain kind of loans, right? So example, IFLNS, right? So they still need more close monitoring and better risk management. So they have again raised issues with respect to functioning of NBFCs in India. And lastly, they have talked about weakness in the financial markets. Whenever we talk about corporate bond markets, what are corporate bond markets? In such kind of markets, big company raise money directly from the investors. So we have a weak corporate bond market, which is showcasing what? That again, private companies do not have facilities to raise certain amount of money for their development of their particular, let's say, businesses. That is a basic layman implied idea from this. And they prefer buying government bonds, which are safer, and which is making the whole idea of infrastructure financing, which is still underdeveloped in India. And again, there are uneven tax rules between debt and equity market, which is making it less attractive to invest in bonds. So these are the few issues which has been highlighted with respect to Indian financial systems as per this particular report. So what kind of reforms they have suggested? Number one is mobilize private money. So again, as I discussed, majority of the financial systems in India is dominated by government banks. So they're making sure, like if I talk about corporate bond market, let's maybe revamp them so that again, investments should also be going to private investors and global private investors as well. Then strengthening of NBFC rules, standardizing it with the global systems. Then we have connecting digital with finances. So again, we have done commendably well with respect to digital financial inclusion with respect to payment system, but there are other sectors of finances with respect to issuance of insurance, maybe access to credit, where again, fintech has to be introduced. Then keeping coordination strong. All regulators, again, we have discussed that how they have been doing well, but again, more integration has to be there, which is going to make the process or make the system more stronger. And lastly, promote green finances. Again, we have discussed to finance green projects to fight the idea of climate change. All of these reforms are suggested as per this particular report. Then the basic idea of that particular program. So again, it was started in the year 1999 by World Bank and IMF. So basically, IMF is releasing the financial health report for all advanced economies, but World Bank and IMF jointly releases this report with respect to developing countries, and that is why this is released by World Bank plus IMF jointly as far as India is concerned. So last report was released in the year 2017, and this one has been done after 7 years. So that is why this topic is very important. They can ask you which bodies is releasing. So again, as far as India is concerned, it is jointly released by World Bank and IMF. The next topic is India is all set to join Tropical Forest Forever Facility as an observer status. We have discussed, I think, maybe last News Today edition, that again, we are trying to gather finances to manage climate change. So in this COP30, which has happened in Belém in Brazil, so there has been setting up of a new fund. What is the name of that particular fund? That fund is basically called as Tropical Forest Forever Facility. Imagine a situation. We all know about the whole idea of deforestation happening and how important it is to stop this problem of deforestation. Clear? So what they are doing that, there are some countries who are doing well to tackle the problem of deforestation. So this fund is being initiated. So the amount of money which is going to be generated are going to be given to countries who are doing well with respect to fighting the idea of deforestation. मतलब कोई अच्छा कर रहा है, if some country is doing well, we are going to give them money for their good job. That is again the whole basic idea of this particular fund in a very simple manner. Like, let's look at, so again, basic idea with respect to making saving forest financially rewarding for countries, right? So that is the whole idea over here. Then how exactly is going to work? So money, what they have discussed, that we are going to collect $125 billion of money from big investors and companies, not just from government, but also from private sector. And all the money which is going to be collected is going to be invested, and the profit which is going to come up, not the money. $125 billion is going to be collected, it is going to be invested, and the amount of profit which is being earned by investment of that particular money, that profit will be given to some countries who are doing well with respect to tackling the problem of deforestation. So companies who qualify here are who keep deforestation rates below 0.5% and ensure fair benefits are being given to indigenous and local forest communities, local communities who are dependent on these particular forests. Then why it matters? Again, we know the importance of forest, but again, let's re-emphasize, they are called as lungs of earth. They are also called as treasure chest because they absorb carbon dioxide. They house half of global biodiversity with respect to flora, fauna. They prevent soil erosion. They prevent rust from floods. They help in terms of rainfall. They, of course, support a lot of livelihood, culture, and medicine. With respect to India, India has joined this particular fund initiative as an observer status. So they have not joined the program, they have joined this as an observer. Basically, what does it mean as an observer? India is going to learn how exactly this mechanism of collection of money, taking profit out of it is working. So how exactly fund is working, they are going to check that, contribute certain ideas, possibly become an active member later. So because it is a very good step with respect to joining it as an observer status, where again it is showcasing India's commitment towards tackling the problem of deforestation, which is again happening in the regions of, let's say, Western Ghats and the northeastern region. So again, very important topic. This could be again a question of your prelims examination. Also, you can use them in your mains answer writing, where again we are talking about the problems of deforestation as a question in mains examination. So there are certain reports. So these reports specifically, again, 3-4 reports we have discussed today. All of these reports could be potential questions of your prelims examination, and also you can use them as and when these topics comes up in your mains examination questions as examples. Clear? Then there are other initiatives with respect to protection of global forest. We have Convention on Biodiversity 1982, which talks about global diversity, biodiversity conversation. We have UNREDD plus 2008, which is talking about financial rewards for reducing deforestation. We have Bonn Challenge, which was started in the year 2011, which is trying to restore 350 million hectares of degraded land by 2030. And lastly, we have a Paris Agreement 2015, which is recognizing forest as climate heroes for carbon storage. All of these are initiatives which are very important for your prelims examination. You, of course, you will be reading them as a standalone topics in your subject of environment and ecology. Moving on to the place in news, that is Denmark. So again, we are aware last year Australia banned social media for children below the age of 16 years, and that led to a debate that again, how should social media be regulated for children in India as well. So Denmark has become a country which has banned or social media access for children under 15 years of age. That is why it was in news. So Denmark, you're going to locate them in map where exactly it is located. It is basically a part of Scandinavia, Northern Europe. Look at the sea, North Sea, bounded by Baltic Sea, right? The bordering countries, for example, they are bordered in south by Germany. So basic geographical features, what kind of river it is flowing, what kind of climate it has. So these are the important areas you are going to locate in the map, right? Because this body or this country was in news. So again, this is where many countries, some or the other way comes up in news. You're just going to see them in map, look at the basic features. That is how you're going to prepare maybe side by side your map or maybe place in news, and that would not require a dedicated maybe approach to let's say read them. Then quickly moving on to the quick updates for the day. So Brain Initiative Cell Atlas Network, BICAN. What exactly is this? So US National Institutes of Health's Brain Initiative Cell Atlas Network, what they are trying to do is, we understand there are a lot of problems or neurological health or brain diseases. For example, if we talk about schizophrenia, autism, which is basically we are still figuring it out why exactly it is happening. So this initiative, what they are doing, you know all about Atlas. What are Atlases? Basically, you see a lot of maps of different countries, and this is going to help us in a lot of manner with respect to planning of things, mobilization of resources. In a similar manner, what they're trying to do is from an embryo stage till I think 18 years of age or adulthood, how brain is developing. That is getting mapped in this particular program. So how exactly from an embryo stage to adulthood stage, the brain cells develop and they mature so that we can observe them and see and analyze that why certain diseases, for example, autism, schizophrenia, and other brain disorders are happening, and this could lead to a potential discovery with respect to treatment of these particular diseases. So basically, they are using neuroscience. There is a collaboration of neuroscientists, computational biologists, and software engineers. So they are going to make open access comprehensive atlas of human brain. So it is enhancing the whole idea of how exactly human brain is developing, how exactly it functions. So a very good development to study it and for the precision medicine for certain neurological conditions. The next news is Section 3336 of Representation of People Act. Again, you know about recently we had the first phase of elections in Bihar. So this whole idea of nominations was in news. So how after, maybe if you want to contest an election, you need to file a nomination. So there are certain sections of Representation of People Act 1951 which talks about these nomination filing. We are going to see them. Section 33 talks about if, let's say you are a candidate and you have a ticket of any political party. So you need to have filed, if you are going to submit a nomination paper, you are going to get a support of one proposer. But if you are an independent candidate who has not got any ticket from any political party, whenever you're going to file a nomination paper, you are going to get support of 10 proposers. Clear? Section 33A talks about that there has to be a mandatory declaration by every candidate who is going to file nomination paper with respect to their criminal cases, the kind of assets they hold, the kind of liabilities they have, and their educational qualifications. This is going to make why it is happening, so that the voters who are going to choose their representatives are going to make an informed choice during the election process. 33B talks about ki this is something which is mandatory as per the law, and there can be no further asking of details whenever someone is going to file a nomination with respect to elections. So again, no disclosure required beyond this 33A. 34 talk about that every person who is going to contest election is going to do a security deposit. What is security deposit? That once something is happening, once something is done, you're going to get back that security deposit. Why it is happening? To shell out or take out non-serious candidates. So for Lok Sabha, it is 25,000. For Assembly, State Assembly, 10,000. And if any person is getting votes less than 1/6 of the poll votes, then again this security deposit is not going to be given back to them. Then lastly, Section 35, that again, with respect to notification of filing of nomination paper, the returning officer announces the schedule of nomination, the scrutiny, and the withdrawal. So if you have filed a nomination, you have a power or you have option to withdraw that nomination as well. Then lastly, Section 36, that again, scrutinizing of this nomination paper. The returning officer also has a power to examine papers and may reject certain defective nominations. This is the whole idea with respect to why it was in news. Then volcanic lightning, all of you must have seen whenever there is rain, there is lightning. So lightning are generally associated with rains. But with this idea, with eruption of volcanoes also, there is something called as volcanic lightning. So this is where whenever volcanic eruptions are happening, what do you see? You see a lot of ashes and ice particles coming up. So once these particles come up to in the form of volcano, they come in contact with each other, they rub against each other, and they create something, a kind of static or static electric charge. Imagine, let's say, if you are having a balloon and if you rub it against your hair, a certain kind of charge is getting developed. And maybe you must have seen a lot of times. I think many of you in childhood have done that experiment that again you rub the scale in your head and you have piece of papers, and once you stick that paper scale over the pieces of paper, the paper get to attracted towards the scale. Why? This is due to development of static charge. So this is where whenever these ashes they come out of volcano, they get collided against each other and they create something called as static energy. And these charge, once they get built up and they are bursted out in the form of lightning discharge. Why is it very much significant? So again, as an early warning of volcanic eruption, or it is going to help scientists to monitor volcanoes in real time. The next news is Christmas Island was in news, again part of Australia. So Google as a company is trying to build up a major AI data center in this particular island. That is why it was in news. So again, Christmas Island, very important, because many a times place in news type of questions are asked. They give you massive following, they give you few places which were there in news and why they were in news. So again, Christmas Island, Google is going to build a major AI data center over here. So now you're going to go and locate Christmas Island in your map. You're going to see in which area it is located. So it is a part of Indian Ocean, and it is 1500 kilometers northwest of Australia. It is also called as Galapagos of Indian Ocean. So basic features you're going to look up and going to read as far as Christmas Island is concerned. The next topic is Rhesus macaque. It was in news. Again, as I discussed, many times a lot of species of flora and fauna will be in news. You're going to read about them. But some species who are coming up in news, that species become important for your examination, because we have seen in Williams question, they give you the species name, they give you certain features, and they are going to ask you mark the correct options. So this is where you're going to read about these kind of features over here. So recently, National Board for Wildlife has recommended that we need to reinstate this Rhesus macaque under Schedule 2 of Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, which is going to restore the legal protection status from capture and cruelty, right? So scientific name, Macaca mulatta. It is a native animal to mainland Asia. So it is connected and it shares 93% DNA as us humans. Their diet is omnivorous, that is they eat both plants as well as animals. They are habitat, they are arboreal, that is they live most of the times in plants, and they are also terrestrial, they also live in land. And as for the IUCN status is concerned, they are of least concern. So that is why it was in news. The next topic is promotion of research and innovation in pharma and medtech PRIP scheme. So again, very briefly, I'm going to give you a gist of this. We know about that as India medical system, we are developing new kind of medicines. We are making new medicines, but we are making generic medicines also. But are we doing research and development with respect to discovery of new medicines? And this is where this scheme of government is trying to promote the whole idea of discovery and making of new kind of medicines for certain kind of diseases. That is a basic idea of this particular program. It is coming under Department of Pharmaceuticals, Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. The budget is 5,000 crore. The aim is to transforms India's global research and development powerhouse in pharma and medtech sectors. Its component includes setting up of two components here. First, you need to set up excellence centers. For example, institutions where again there will be training given for research and development or discoveries of new kind of medicines. and again strengthening the research infrastructure. And component B is to promote innovation in pharma and medtech through support or to industry startups and academia. The focus is, of course, to boost the idea of drug discovery in India, medical device innovation in India, and self-reliance in healthcare. Basic idea of making India ready for not just only making medicines, but discovering new medicines, new technology in healthcare sector as well. So with this, we come to an end of today's discussion of News Today. All important questions which could be framed from the topic which I have discussed will pop up in your screen. It is your duty to solve those questions and post your answers in the comment section as usual, so that again a competitive spirit around all students who are watching this initiative by Vision Eyes is going to be maintained. Lastly, Vision has come up with digital current affairs platform, which is a one-stop solution for all current affairs related content with respect to this examination. Please go and explore this website. It is certainly going to help you a lot in terms of your current affairs preparation. So all the very best, happy weekend, and thank you so very much.